Around 100 million years ago, Death Valley's ancient seas gave way to exploding volcanoes, whose peaks were then wrenched apart to create the lowest spot in America. From around 200,000 years ago, the valley filled with a freshwater lake, but the rain shadow of surrounding mountains dried up the water. For the past 2,000 years, Death Valley has been hotter and drier than anywhere else in North America, which makes it all the more mysterious to find Mosaic Canyon, a deep chasm seemingly cut by water in this parched and arid land. Especially when there is evidence of massive boulders having been pushed around like pebbles.
Just look at the size of that boulder and look at how high above my feet it is. It's about 3 feet in diameter, and I can't even estimate what the weight of that thing is.
She may be in a desert, but Messina knows there is only one force that could have lifted the boulder up so high.
Water brought it here and left it here. The force of the water that came through here had to have been pretty severe in order to get that boulder up there, plastered against the wall. This boulder gives us evidence about the force of the water that comes down these canyons during flash floods.
A flash flood is one of nature's most lethal weapons.
If there were a flash flood coming down this canyon, I wouldn't have enough time to run out of its path because the water flows down at an incredible velocity. Flash floods are among the most violent processes on the Earth. They can carry material the size of an SUV without any problem at all.
In one of the driest places in the world, the floodwater comes from a surprising source: rain. On average, Death Valley receives just 2 inches of rain a year. This is less than half the rain that falls on New York in a single month. But violent summer storms mean it can all fall in just a single day. The floods transform the desert landscape in a number of ways. One is known as the desert bloom, where seeds and plants that may have lain dormant for up to 10 years burst into flower after a sudden rainfall. This phenomenon might be beautiful, but there is another deadlier side to these floods, with a human cost.
In 2004, there was a flash flood that came down Furnace Creek. It was just this muddy slurry that was dense enough to pick up a vehicle and carry it downhill, and several people died in it. The 2004 flash flood is small in comparison to some of the events that we see preserved here in the rocks.
Flash floods happen all over the world, but there's evidence here of their particular and rare geological effect in Death Valley.
This marble is very highly polished. It's not scratched, it's not gouged. It's been polished by very fine-grained material. It comes down as part of a flash flood. So it's really smooth and it's fluted. It's really unique.
To uncover how these unusual polished walls were formed, Messina takes a closer look at what geologists term the Badlands.
I think it's called bad because nothing will grow on it. There's just this very loose material out here, and it erodes so readily that plants can't even take root. So this is bad land.
The rock that makes up the Badlands is the dried-up remains of the 2,000-year-old lake bed that once submerged Death Valley.
This is nothing more than desiccated mud. It's called mudstone because it's slightly lithified, meaning it's turned into rock.
The mudstone's minerals are arranged in tightly packed, flat sheets.
The rain can't penetrate the mudstone, and therefore the rain picks up a lot of particles and carries them downhill.
These particles are the key to the canyon's smooth, polished walls.
It flows through here so laden with sediment that it causes a lot of polishing and incision. So every time a flash flood comes through, this canyon gets deeper, the walls get higher, and the rock gets more polished.
The sediment-laden floods can carve into Death Valley's rocks with tremendous speed and force. These canyons have been gouged out where the rocks here have been fractured and weakened by the continuous stretching the valley is undergoing.
This is upfront, in-your-face geology happening right here. Death Valley is dynamic. This is a place where things are happening in a human lifespan.